Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Future Friday, we're gonna talk about Trump won again in 2024. So what's gonna happen next? So let's dive deep into it. So it's a huge deal. Whether you like it or not, does not matter which country you live in. Given the fact that we live in one planet and it has around give or take 200 countries, all are affected by it, whether we like it or not. Now again, big countries should not be affected by it if it's run wisely. Unfortunately, that's not the case, so we are affected by it whether we like it or not. And this comeback, basically this individual was in office, then he was yeeted out of office, then he came back. It's what we call a story of the eons. It is so rare that the only time this has happened is Glover Cleveland, and this gentleman was 22. He was ranked 20, as in like his numbering was 22, and he was yeeted out of there in 23, and then he came back in 24. And here's the funny thing, this happened when the years had 18 in front of them, not 19, 18. So yeah, this is a bigger deal. This is like damn deal. Like this is like damn. So at this point now, when I'm making this video, as in like 2024, 11:07, 12:53 Indian Standard Time, Senate and House elections are still ongoing, meaning while they have achieved majority in Senate, but you have to understand, Senate does require 51 to be claimed as majority, but many things require around 60 or 61 votes. So you do want bit more than that. 51? Good. If they can cross, let's say 55, or basically if they can come close to 60, that would be good. I do not think they have that much. Maybe they can get 58, maybe. But again, really good showing. And here's the funny thing, this is better than what he got last time. So that's like damn. So not only the candidate is awesome, the party is also having some serious horsepower. Benefit is that if now he passes anything, it can go through, like it can almost steamroll through the Senate. That's like damn. And in the House, that is a bit more up in the air, so to say, although there is a very good chance that he might actually get majority, although this part is a bit more forgiving, so to say. But again, this sort of a strong showing in the Senate, that's like damn. And in sort of presidential selection, yeah, that was like damn, steamrolled. And it was magnificent. Basically, it practical terms, I remember this one because again, when last time was happened, I was a 3D game artist and I had office and I was looking into this. I wanted cheaper graphics card, so almost how it happened last time. So this is a damn thing, like damn. It's huge. Let that be very clear. Like just from a pundit point of view, just from a economics point of view, just from a point of studying how the heck election happens, this sort of massive result is like damn. This win is ultra damn. If they crack this puppy also, that's like damn. That's triple dipping. They will actually do triple dipping, which is like, whew, that's rare. That's like 2004 kind of rare. So it's huge. Now, there is a hysteria against Trump. Now, his deal. How do you know whether hysteria is from this side to that side? Well, Trump derangement syndrome is basically was a term. Now, his deal. If you were calling it out in 2016, again, you could call it out, but how do you know whether it's just like, it's real or just like, overhyped? Well, thankfully, these things have happened 3 times. So now we have real world data. At this point in time, like this is not just like, 1% did that and all that. So at this point in time, we have the unfortunate reality that Trump derangement syndrome is unfortunately real. We have one poofed person and one almost most likely to be poofed or poofed in a jail in like, almost forever, actually happened. It's no longer just like, oh, he's saying that, no, this happened. This has crossed certain threshold. And now here's the, what does the syndrome mean? Trump derangement syndrome. Basically, when this election was being run in 2016, it was like, if he is elected, we were warned, this will end the world, there will no longer be freedom, this will happen, that will happen. And fun fact, he won. Let that sink in. We were all warned. It's like the Dark Lord must not rise. But it did happen. Actually happened. Now his deal, he won and nothing happened. Which again, any Tom, Dick and Harry knows about anything about government knows for a fact that nothing will happen. Like presidential election has ironically very little to do with the country. Like surprisingly little, like disappointingly little. And again, there was no World War III, there was no mass deportation, and all other words that I cannot even use on here. And again, here's the, anybody can say any Tom, Dick and Harry thing on YouTube, right? That's a fair thing, fair assessment. Let's reject all of that. Where can you not say whatever the heck comes to your mind? Well, television. Why? Television requires governmental license. You cannot just like, lol. I cannot just open a TV station and be like, lol. So you have to understand, having televisions saying something, there is a certain level of penalty to that. You cannot just like lol it. Every channel was doing this. So that's how that credibility, that derangement was actually happening. Whereas like, and here's the printed media, you're supposed to be every news media, and again, if it's a very close call, what we call coin toss likelihood, they generally print out pamphlet, basically books, newspaper on both parties. Basically, what if this wins, and the people in the, let's say you are in a newspaper, you'll find someone in the team who's like, hey, I want this party. Okay, you write an article assuming he won, and then you're like, hey, you want this party too? Okay, you write a party and you print both of them just to save on time. They did not did that with Hillary Clinton. They only printed Hillary Clinton one. They did not even took the probability, what if Trump's won? It was hilarious. Like they literally had to collect it back. And again, that's why you're supposed to do. Like we had learned this the hard way. Nobody bothered to do it. So that the fact that Trump pushed through all that much, I was like, that's how we knew there was hysteria. It's like, and again, it did not work. And again, he stayed 4 years. Be mindful. Thankfully, USA has some history to itself, so it has learned through hard mistakes, where it's like, thou shall not put one individual in a steering wheel position for more than 8 years. They have learned it the hard way. I have a bad feeling that India might need to learn that lesson very soon, but you get the point. They have learned the lesson. By law, a individual cannot go more than basically 8 years. They will be yeeted out of there. Trump finished 50% of what he can actually do. He did that. Done. Sorted. Go home. Did the world end? No. Did this happen, that happened, that? Nothing. Nothing. World was, world is, world will be. So fundamentally, we've been through this path. And again, I saw the same thing in this election. Now here's the deal. The same thing happened in 2020, but it did not won at that time. So this time, same thing. Which again, you would have think this time they would be far more calm or far more gentle, given the fact that, hey, they already lost. Like, Trump already lost. But they were not. They were going full cuckoo. And I'm like, dude, we've been through this route. World does not end if that happens. This, again, there is a individual. Now there is a woman in car going berserker, and there is a 18 or 19-year-old dude, a very slim looking dude, even more slimmer than I am, and screaming his lungs out in a bathroom. Weird. So yes, there is a genuine reason why I'm calling Trump treasure. And holy damn, how the heck Trump has changed. Like how, when he was talking in the early days, he was like very different kind of individual in 2016. How he's talking right now is a very like, let's fix our nation. I'm like, damn, what the hell, dude? How the heck you are making sense? Like there is a different kind of aura to him. And given the fact that a bullet actually left tapped his ear, I have a feeling that dude has learned. So, and here's the deal. Why the heck the world ending scenario will not happen? Well, here's the deal. There are checks and balances. That's the one good thing about USA. Here's the deal. Everybody who is born in USA, they are privileged in certain ways that they cannot comprehend. Let's say for case of India, how many passports do you think American comes in India and gets Indian citizenship? It's not zero. We do get few. But here's the deal. How many Indians go from India to America? That's a lot. Now, okay, let's do the same thing with second most population country, China. How many passports go from USA, not to visit, not to official work, to like actually settle there? Few. Not a zero, few. How many go from China to America? Bonkersly large number. And again, do that with all over the planet, outcome will be the same. Every Tom, Dick and Harry is going there. Question is why? What the heck they have sorted so well that for 275 years, almost everybody is going there. Like one, let's say, give you a contrast. You have country like Ukraine and Russia, where male cannot just eat out of that. Again, I understand Ukraine's point of view is like, hey, if every man that can run started to run, we will deplete our forces and we will be poofed. I get that. It's cruel world. It is what it is. Russia is the same thing. It's like if every man can run and they will run, they're like, yeah, we'll be poof ourselves. So it is what it is. And let's go to worst case scenario. North Korea. Yeah, you are in a jail. You can never leave, not even to visit. You just no. And if you leave, yeah, you will be poofed. And if you successfully manage to that, they will poof everybody behind you. So that versus a country where you can just travel. So having a country where people are fighting to get in, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a very good mark on your character. It's like, hey, people want to come here. That's America. From the outside, it's obvious. From inside, it may look, oh, we are doing so cruel thing. It's like, imagine what is happening to them in their country for them to bother to actually travel to another country where language is different, rules are different, everything is different. Like, you have to truly think about it. Like how messed up China was at the time of CCP is that people are literally doing everything in their power to yeet out of there. Trust me, you do not want to know. So that checks and balances that USA did once they got their independence from UK was actually good. Not the greatest. Again, it's a Mark 1 product, but it's good. And every Tom, Dick and Harry is trying their best to replicate this sort of success where one individual cannot boom the country. So fundamentally, all the safeguard that is in the democracy, again, it has been proven that it works, because again, 2016 happened, Trump won, she was screaming for nothing, and all the kids that are screaming right now, they are screaming for nothing, nothing will happen. So fundamentally, and USA is not Russia, where one individual can come and slowly culminate all the power and is like, what if I destroy the country? Oh yeah. It's not that. It's not Pakistan, where it's like Pervez Musharraf is like, I'm not liking the government, I am the government. It's not that. It's not North Korea. It's not Sudan. It's not Kenya. It's like, imagine this, like your forefather worked their ass off to build an infrastructure that is like, hey, you're going too much. Like, come down a bit. Every branch of government, people hate it. It's like, it has so much bureaucracy, which is a good thing. You want it. Like if you're watching Andrew Tate, you're like, oh, Andrew Tate talks about, like, how Putin can do whatever he wants. That's a bad thing. That's a bad thing for a country. Really bad thing. When it's like, Putin says, like, I have heard so many elected presidents of America, but none of them can do anything because they have bosses and bosses. Yeah, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. We want that thing. So this hysteria, and again, this kid, man, he's younger than me. He poofed himself. It's like, so this hysteria is like truly tragic, because again, that's why I'm going specifically on printed media and TVs, because again, they require license, they require a serious amount of money. It's like, I can do whatever I want in YouTube, again, within reason, but you get the point. So this hysteria is very tragic, so to say, to see. And again, third year in the row. So how the heck world is so messed up at this point in time? Well, we have broken people, and this is planet-wide. So how do we know that world broke? Well, what happened? Well, the bad incident happened in 2019, the pandemic. Now, here's the deal. Pandemic on its own would not have been a bad deal if it was, in a small space. There was no small space. It was global. So that pandemic had very severe what you call ripple consequences, so to say. And we went from lockdown to war. We basically, all minor things would be minor inconvenience. But if you do a lot of minor inconvenience in succession, you will destroy. So same thing, lockdown was bad enough. It was a big punch to your face. Then you had, like, Suez Canal being blocked. Again, minor punch in the gut. Then you had another war, which again had a major punch. For example, you would not think about it, but here's the Russia and Ukraine are bread baskets for surprisingly large numbers of countries. They export a large number of amount of grains, so to say. And war happens, that gets cut. What happens? That means now Indian sellers have the option, hey, do we sell the grains to Indian market or sell it abroad for higher profit? Now, should government allow that? Again, government needs to. Why? Selling in foreign market allows us to earn dollars. Now, why does India need dollars so badly? Because again, we are stupid and we haven't invested into seaweed biofuel, so we have to pay OPEC to get oil, because without oil we cannot run our tractors. Without tractors, no food. So you get the point. We need dollars. So ironically, they go boom boom on each other and our food prices start to go up. Food prices are going up worldwide. Because again, one thing was bad enough, two things was bad enough, you had multiple small things. Yeah, that's starting to break people. So world went to hell and people broke. Like this happened. Now, how do I know that this actually happened on a global scale? That's a very good question. The easiest way to figure out whether people think the country is healthy or bad is very simple, by birth rate. Birth rate being very specific, birth per woman must be at 2.1. Now here's the, what is this number 2.1? You're not supposed to mean have two healthy kids and one pinky finger. 2.1 simply means majority of women will have two kids, some will have three, and some will have zero. So overall, the over average would be 2.1. Now, does that number has to be 2.1? Yes. Always, by law of nature, it has to be 2.1. It cannot be any number below 2. And again, 2.1 is like lowest. Even if you have a population as large as China or India, if you drop below 2, it could fall exponentially faster. Because I guess, ironically, this is the first time this is happening in human history, is that we used to think that 2.1 will drop like 2.1 to 2 to 1.98. No. Below 2 happens rapidly. Basically, it goes, ask Japan, ask South Korea. It drops scary fast, and there is no recovery to it. It has not happened because again, this is the first time in human history it happened, and because we lied to ourselves about overpopulation, we actually thought it was a good thing. We were encouraging it, like for example in China. And in this regard, I do respect Indian demographic experts, because they were like, yeah, don't do that smoking weed thing. There's like one child policy. Every Tom, Dick and Harry screamed their lungs off in China, do not implement this child policy, you will die. Now, unfortunately, this sort of event where you poof your whole civilization takes a bit of time for people to realize, oh, we actually poofed ourselves, because it takes 90 years. 30 year being one generation, 90 year being the total lifespan. So by the time you actually reach a point where it's like, oh, we have too many old people and too little young people. Thankfully, China got a pandemic as a gift, so way too many old people poofed. So that's delayed their eventual like realization. Oh damn! And again, to be fair, they have already realized it. How do I know? Very good question. Google their current policy is 3-child policy. I do respect Indian mathematician for this. It's like, hum do, hamare do. Basically translate to, we two, our two. We have to be at 2.1. And again, if you try me too, hamare, many women will randomly end up with twins, so to say. So 2.1 could be very easy to maintain. But the moment you drop below that, you dead. And again, that deading will always happen in 90 years. And 90 years means you will reach what we call collapsing population. At that point is unstable. Can you recover from that? No. Japan is paying money. No, not working. Korea is paying money. Not working. South Korea, basically. And again, Ukraine will soon do that. But again, their number was a bit better. Russia is doing that. It's like, hey, if you have 8 kids, lot of money. Not working. And numbers like that agree. 150 country. That's how I know the whole world broke. And again, because of that overpopulation lie, the color coding is different. Color coding should be any number below 2 should be red. It's like, yeah, most of the countries are at 1.5, and some places are very low, like 1.5, or some places 0.8. Only Africa is a bit healthy. 1 or 2 Middle Eastern countries are healthy, and everything else poofed. So this happened. How the heck this happened this badly, like whole planet wise? And again, this is 2023's report. So how the heck it can be this bad? Well, people can't afford life. Again, I told you, like, what will happen to India if Indian food has higher value rather than in Indian tummies to be abroad tummies? Because again, we need to buy oil because we are stupid and we are smoking weed and not seaweed. If it did that, we would have solved that problem. But again, begging to OPEC is better. So, and what is the penalty of this? Once life becomes so expensive, it deletes your long-term thinking. You cannot think long-term. And I have seen way too many younglings. Younglings being like, I'm 32 years old. Youngling being anyone who's from 15 years old to 25 years old. That period where you decide majority of your life decision, unfortunately. Yeah. And again, I cannot blame. It's like, if you are living in that world where like food prices are going up, like when I was young, food prices were a static thing. It's like, oh, this is like a 20 rupee item. It's a 20 rupee item. Now it's going up like from year to year. It's like 100 rupee item, 120 rupee item. And I'm like, I remember when it was 100. It's not like a slow change. It's like, bam, price doubling, wabam, price tripling, wabam, price quadrupling. And that's only happening from 2020. So it is bad. Like, it is bad. Like, nobody in India any longer is like, majority of Indians is like, oh, I'm going to start a family. I'm going to buy a land. I'm going to build a house. Yeah, no. So broken people really do. And again, it's the outcome of the circumstance. Long-term thinking is compromised. So what is the solution? Well, again, according to Trump and any Tom, Dick and Harry who wants a short-term solution, energy sector. How do you reduce prices very quickly? Again, unscientifically. I'm not talking about policy and all that, because again, that's black magic. Like, what can I do right now? And I know for a fact that in a few years, it will directly start to reduce, inflation. Well, easiest way to reduce prices is basically flood the market with cheap energy, be it fuel, be it electricity, or cost reduction in electricity. That has direct response. Now, be mindful, you have to actually do it for long term. It's not like a stimulus for 1 month. No, it has to be like a concentrated effort where you are diverting from other sectors into energy sector to have that long-term survey. Basically, India did luck out in this regard. That's why our situation is not that bad. Is that we are like, Russia is like, hey, you do not have that many buyers who can actually buy enough of it to justify it. And there is only 2, practically speaking, India and China. So China has their own deal, and we were like, hey, we will buy it, but you have to sell it for cheap. So our oil, thankfully, we could have been really messed up if that did not happen. But thankfully, that did happen. So oil was not that bad. But again, that's the easiest way a country can, like, okay, let's apply some serious disc brake. Let's apply to get some power sorted. And again, electricity is used for every factory that you can think of, including food processing. So how do you tame it? You cheapen the electricity. Cheap energy equals more prosperity. That's law. Now, here's the what can you do right now? Now. So at this now, only fossil fuel seems to be a very quick, basically do it today, you will have answer tomorrow, that kind of solution. It's a save us right now, ASAP kind of solution. It's almost like when you detect basically, let's say sugar, and you're supposed to, like, once you detected it, you're supposed to take care of your body, like, no, let's ease it off the sugar. And if you do it a very good job, there is a good chance you can save yourself from getting a permanent damage. But if you do not, permanent damage, at that point you have to do insulin every day. This is where we are, insulin every day. So it's a short-term gain. Now here's the, is it a good thing? Well, economically, no, it's a long-term loss. Basically, we had the same thing from early years of fossil fuel. We realized we have so much and our consumption grew, and then we realized we only had so much. Let us say we had so much to, oh, we only had so much. And 1816, who cares? 1920, we started to actually consume some serious amount. And then 1940, 1960, we are going turbo booster, man. And then it's like, oh, we only had that much. And then it went down. Now here's the deal. Every time it went down, we went into different method of extraction, simply because, again, that complex method of extraction was viable now, once the price has gone up. So consumption went up, the supply runs out, and now we consume from harder to extract sources. So gas well, yeeted out of there. Oil wells, yeeted out of there. Coal bed wells, yeeted out of there. So what is left? Shale gas. Now be mindful, shale gas, USA already knows what is their shale gas reserves is and how much is there. They have known it from very long ago. Now then why didn't they extract it? Well, it was never viable economically, and again, they had so much to extract to. Basically, this whole curve that you see is what they had, what they have consumed by 2020, and now they're like, yeah, we're kind of running out. So going all in the fracking industry, that's what, like, Trump keeps talking about, and others also take it, like, we have to do far more fracking. And again, it can be done very quickly. Like, you start the project, I'm reasonably sure by his first year also, end of first year, he can start flooding the market with natural gas, and you can have like a lot of coming online. So that can be done, but again, it will give us the same damage like fossil fuel did. Is like, again, I'm not even talking about natural point of view or environment point of view. Let the environment to be a non-concern for you, but you give a damn about price. It's the same thing. Again, the hype is from a different point to different point, but it will fall in the same way, because again, we know the reserve is locked, and the moment you start to flood the market, people's consumption starts to go up. So you will reach a point where it's like, oh, it's not sustainable, it's not renewable. Renewable has to be done by public for public sake, not for environment sake. Again, environment is a good beneficiary. It's like, oh, environment also survives, but it should be done. It's like, hey, do you like your pocket? That's why, for example, in 2015, people started to seriously look into solar. And again, this is the, you have to understand, from 2005 to 2010, solar was a thing, wind was a thing. Back then, people were all about wind, solar was not taken seriously. But again, people had the idea that solar and wind can be a thing. But at that point in time, watch any old news from National Geography, Discovery Channel, whatever have you, and even news medias, you'll find everybody is talking about like, yeah, it's a good thing, but it cannot provide enough power to run a nation. And again, people kept believing that, but here's nobody says that now. Why? Well, we have reached a point where we're like, yeah, we were stupid. We can keep increasing solar without any penalty. Again, grid scale, there is a penalty, but we can keep increasing it. Example, California's duck curve. You kept 2015. If you had told anyone in 2015 that you're going to have so much solar power that for 1 to 3 hours you have to shut down the goddamn grid because you are overproducing so much, and that's in gigawatt scale, people would like, dude, pass the joint, man. That sounds good joint. 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, bam. It crossed zero, meaning power curtailment had to be done, meaning they had to shut down every service, or basically all the solar farm. And that's the penalty of renewable. It actually grows. And again, every household, it's like, how much is a household? It's like 1 kilowatt or 3 kilowatt they are adding to the grid. Yeah, one household is not that much. 1 million household, it's a lot. Like, practically speaking, if every household started to add that, that would be so much that you will only need coal power plants just to, as a grid inertia. That's the weak link right now. Inertia, we do not have enough inertia, and there are solutions for that. The grid inertia would be needed, and just to run on the evenings. And if we have energy storage, which thankfully nuclear technology provided us in 1977, we can even tame the evening peak, even with wasteful pumped hydro, closed loop pumped hydro. which again does not have ecological disaster as normal pumped hydro, and it has very good efficiency nowadays. Like you can exceed 70% efficiency. We can keep increasing solar, we can keep getting inertia, and we can easily remove the peak, evening peak, and slowly energy problem is solved. And that's just generation 1 solar panel. These are single junction solar cells right now. We have the technology to make multi-junction solar cells that we use for military satellites. They are very expensive, but they do have high efficiency. How kind of high efficiency? We can cross 51% efficiency when you have triple junction solar cells. Yeah, that's Mark 1 technology. We are basically orgasming ourselves with 2G mobile phone. You have no idea how far solar can go on the same hectare of land, same rooftop, every 25 years. And we are like, what if we extracted gas? It's like, what if you did not dig a grave that pulled yourself in? So this is the problem. And again, I do not blame anyone who's like supporting this, because I understand the pain. We should have been doing this few years ago. This bureaucratic BS that we did, again, specifically with closed loop pumped hydro, which again slowed down this adoption, we kind of dug our own grave in case of Americans. And again, India's, we are not doing much better. So that's the whole thing. Basically, we are stuck. Now we are in such a painful position that we are choosing between, like, short-term surviving, so we can suffer in the long term. We had the solution. So this energy sector will be the most big impact that will happen. Now, what can we expect in the future? Well, reality is, world is much more closer to what we call no return. Now, that's a mathematical concept. Like, oh, the world will end. What does that mean, right? You need scientific numbers. Boom, precise. So what we call cascade failure, meaning this will fail, that will fall, this to fall apart, this will fall apart, and this will fall apart. Cascade failure, one thing leading to destruction of other systems. Has that happened? Not yet, thankfully. Or maybe we are already reaching that. It will be difficult to detect. So what will be the end point where it's like, yeah, we messed up permanently. So beginning of the end will be when you will start to hear in news that farmers can no longer farm because soil temperature is too high. Because that implies two core things. First, Earth's temperature is too goddamn high. Another, we do not have enough fresh water to do evaporative cooling on them. So that would be your, yeah, Earth is spoofed. That would be your moment. Now be mindful, this will first happen to India, China, Africa, because again we are closer to equator, and then it will slowly goes to upper places. The moment it starts to touch Ukraine, yeah, we did. To be fair, it should not happen in Ukraine. Ukraine and Russia should be in a position where they should get bonkersly large amount of rain. Although weapons contaminated land may be not as productive as you would think, or as productive as it used to be. So there is that. So the moment that happens in news in China and India, and be mindful, India is also a very, very big exporter. So that will have cascading failure. So if that starts to happen in news regularly, yeah, that's the time where you're like, okay, Earth has crossed cascading failure point. I do not know whether we can fix from that point. Again, there is no technological limitation. It's like, how would we solve it? Yeah, we sorted it. We sorted it in 1990s. We had seaweed biofuel because again, people did the math, people did the research, and they were like, hey, we cannot grow fuel on land because there is not enough land. We cannot grow because the freshwater requirement is so goddamn high. The best option is algae biofuel, and it requires freaking 700 liters for 1 liter of fuel. That's not acceptable. We do not have that much fresh water. And not to mention, even assuming you have magic technology, let's say reverse osmosis, or even better, let's say low temperature thermal desalination, you do not have hundreds and millions of square kilometers that you would need in order to get enough of it. What has it? Which again, they sorted in 1990s, basically just after oil embargo. Basically, the president at that time had brain. They were like, what if we looked for alternative? And they did all the math. Your hydrogen, yeah, they did everything. And outcome was seaweed biofuel, given the Earth's constraint, is the best tool. Why? Seaweed works on sea. What is sea has? Infinite amount of water. Again, from our point of view, it's infinite. It's infinite. What about surface area? I cannot, any country, I cannot just say, hey, give me 10,000 square kilometer area. You cannot get that in any country without any issue. In sea, just to go below a few kilometers so people can't see it, yeah, that's just take it and go. There are already wind farms that are that size, offshore wind farms, and future farms that will be even larger than that. Nobody cares. It's out of sight, out of mind. And again, you can grow as much as you want. Why? Salty water, not running out of basically salty water, and surface area, solar energy. You need these two things, solar energy and water, to convert enough photosynthesis into hydrocarbon. And again, that makes it carbon neutral. 1990. And then why did they close the project? Well, somebody was smart in OPEC. Same way there was a smart president in 1970s, I think. Same way somebody was smart in OPEC, and they were like, hey, bro, drop the fuel freaking price. If you do not, they will make this, and if they keep making this, will be price locked. So they dropped the price crashed, bam, and then America closed the project, because at the time of closing the project was, we can make fuel for USA, but it will cost twice as much. At that point in time, this line, it will cost twice as much. Every Tom, Dick and Harry repeats today. Please hit them, like actually physically hit them, because here's the deal, what they are forgetting, that this document was printed in 1990s, meaning that time oil prices in that documentation is $15 per barrel. They said that way they can best give you 30. Let's assume they are engineering hyper optimistic. Let's double that. That's 60. That's still cheaper than today's $90 per barrel. They had the solution. We had the solution. We could have saved it. We could have saved the earth. We could have saved the economy. We chose not to. And again, I get why USA did not bother to do that, because they had so much resources. I do not get it why Indians did not do it. And again, that's why we are so dependent on US election, because again, dollar, because OPEC, we have to pay for goddamn oil. So that's why India gives us so much damn about, like, you know, having dollars coming in, because again, we have to pay for our food, and that food requires machinery, that machinery requires fuel, and we are wasting money on hydrogen, where it's like, it has 8 megajoule per liter compared to 32. And people are like, oh, hydrogen in kilogram. It's like, look into the periodic table. It's the lightest element. You cannot carry it. The only way you can even attempt to carry is solid metal halide, which is only useful for nuclear submarines, or basically submarines that are running on hydrogen, or forklift, because they have giant dead weight. Anything other than that, it will not work. We've been there, tried it. It's like, what about making planes? Yeah, Soviet Union built it, America built it. We've been there, done that. It does not work. Then why they are building it now? Why Airbus is building it? Airbus is not building it. They are being forced to, because European Union is smoking weed, and they're passing law that by 2050, no hydrocarbon. And they're like, bro, we cannot fly the plane. If we try to do that on such a low energy fuel, be mindful, convert how much efficiency you need in normal jet engine, given the fact that your fuel has 32 megajoule per liter. Actually, it has 35, kerosene has 35, but let's go with 32 megajoule per liter. How much conversion efficiency you have to have in jet engine to exceed 100% of 8? Our jet engines has crossed that long ago. There is no point. And again, that was the original reason why America poured money into it. They were like, back then jet engines were not efficient. Burning jet fuel reliably was not, like, they were not converting enough of it. So they're like, hydrogen conversion was easy. But it's only 8. Even if you convert 100%, it's 8, which again, law of thermodynamics is like, bitch, please. So you die. And we did that. And again, it's like, people are like, liquid hydrogen, we're just going to carry liquid hydrogen. It's like, you know, rockets used to use hydrogen. They gave up on it. It does not have any benefits. Been there, done that. But again, politicians do not suffer the penalty of it. So they can like smoke it and write a law, and like a solar roadway brain damage, a hyperloop brain damage, and it's like, we're gonna suffer. So flat out, the moment that happens, where it's like, you know, farmers start to actually complain, and you're like, hey, there's been one bad year, then to be second bad year, yeah, we did at that point in time. We will not have enough fresh water, and will not have enough temperature on the soil to actually plant crops. Now, how can we solve it in long term? Basically, if we have all the solution, and why the heck we did not deploy it? Well, because our voting is retarded. It's built for children. It's like 1-year-old children supposed to have voting. What we have in voting is what we call first past the post, meaning you cross 51%, you're selected. That by design will polarize. Even one of our very beloved Prime Minister, Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee, he had a very amazing saying in Hindi, where it's like, you know, देश का ध्रुवीयकरण नहीं होना चाहिए, meaning country should not be polarized. And I'm reasonably sure every American viewer will agree with that. But why the heck that keeps happening? Because math is honest. We are retarded. It's like first past the post, like, oh, 51% you decide. No, that is not good enough. For a country, you have to be like 75%. Like, how will that happen? Very easy. Transferable vote system. Basically, single transferable vote. For example, you have candidates. Right now, we do not have candidates. We have one death, another death. Both are death. So you have candidates in this scenario, and you select by one, my first choice, my second choice, my third choice. And here's the deal. Likelihood of someone's first choice to become 75% is 0. So what happens? People are like, okay, let's select it. Who's your first elect? The first elect will be the first system. Okay, but it does not have enough to reach that. Okay, the lowest one at that point, let's say people's third choice. What is the lowest? Let's say candidate number 5. gets the lowest vote. Okay, you eat that. Now transfer his vote. Basically, he must have been the first choice of so many people. You transfer it. There is a math to it. It's not that complex. It sounds complex because again, this video is not about that. But if there are videos about it that explain this, it's not that complex. You basically transfer it. Every time somebody fails to cross 75% or whatever your threshold is, you transfer the lowest denominator's vote into the next biggest one. And you keep doing that. So benefit is you will have people's second choice or third choice to be the primary choice, where 75% of voters are okay with him. Basically, they're like, this is my guy, but I'm okay with this guy. But this guy is like, I can tolerate it. That would be the option. Right now, option is like, I like this guy, poof this guy. I like this guy, poof this guy. So instead of that, you'll have my first choice, my second choice, my third choice. And if third choice comes into office, you're like, not great, not terrible. Second choice, hey, me cool, me happy. And now you have options. Now candidates can say, hey, one candidate is like, free food forever. Other candidate is like, no free food, because again, you have to pay for it. Okay, both are valid. And again, now you have polarization. People hate everybody. Now the center party can say like, hey, free food, 0 to 18 only. Other party is like, hey, free food, 0 to 12 only. See, now you have options. And now people can make a decision. It's like, hey, we understand the fact that you cannot have free, because even the poor people who are like, hey, I want free food, their first choice will be that, but they have to select the second choice or third choice. They're like, yeah, what would be my second choice? My second choice would be like, say, 0 to 18 years. Okay, that's the second choice. Third choice would be 0 to 12. Again, now you'll find, hey, more than enough your country either agrees with 0 to 18 or 0 to 12. And whatever the electorate in this scenario would be the highest percentage, meaning majority of your countrymen will not be angry. Now, one good news, Europe somehow have a brain. I do not know how, but they are deploying this on a very fundamental. This sort of election does not make sense on a top level. Like, oh, parliament is doing it, it does not mean anything. We get to get the choice. We need to have this sort of choice. So they are doing this on a mayor level, on a block. Like you can find majority of the singles transfer votes are from Europe, because again, they are deploying this. If it starts to go upwards from there, like, mayor elections are happening this way. So one mayor is like, we're going to have more bike lane. Other mayor is like, we're going to have more, lighting and this and small things. But again, small, gentle things rather than full fire, full flood. No, simple, gentle options. So this tames two-party system. This mathematically breaks the dual party system. It's not that hard to do. We have known this from 200 plus years. We have not deployed this. This is the true tragic nature of democracy. We know we have fundamentally flawed mathematics. We are not solving it. Only one simmer of hope is there, that Europe keeps working on it, keeps refining the system, and they keeps upward flowing it. Basically, they have deployed in mayor level, then the city level election, then country level election. If they reach that, they will become the next superpower, because again, now their bureaucracy will actually work. It's like, oh, instead of polarizing the country, what if we can get the work done? So this is the whole point. People must get balanced choice. You cannot have a choice, full fracking and like full renewable. It's like full renewable, you will go bankrupt. Full fracking, you will die. So what's the choice? Well, again, seaweed biofuel. You must have a choice. Or again, even they can just like, hey, we're going to use a lot of series hybrid in tractors or basically big machines like Edison motors. Why? Here's the deal, funny thing. If you can save even 10% of fuel on a big vocational truck, that's size of few cars. You're removing few cars from the market. So it's actually far more cost effective from environmental and economical point of view to actually convert your basically trucks, because again, they consume hundreds of liters per day, to like, hey, save few liters per day, because that's the consumption of few cars per day. So that's far more cost effective. The farmers wins. It's like, hey, John Deere cannot us. That's awesome. So that's why we have to have balanced choice. We cannot be like fire, brimstone. We need balanced choice. Failure to do so, we are choosing our own extension. You want a sad reminder of that? Google what the heck happening from Africa in last 75 years. Why the heck after their democracy does not function as well it should have. Like, you will be sad, like at some point. It's like, dude, how many times they are going through the same system? So excess of everything is bad. Right is wrong, left is wrong, both are wrong. Because again, instead of adapting, basically you are driving a steering wheel. Oh, I need to go right. Oh, I need to go left. It's like right, left. Yeah, that's stupid. So basically we forgot about that. And again, I hope, I wish, I pray for the people who want to have human life, where it's like, hey, we actually deploy this on a large scale, slowly. Again, I'm happy that somebody is deploying it on a base layer and they're slowly moving it upwards. I'm happy. It should be done. Like, it should have been solved, like, at least 2 centuries ago. But it is what it is. So this is the future. Unless we solve the voting problem on fundamental level, it is just I'm screaming at a void. So this was my presentation on basically Trump's election and what does it mean, why does world feel so polarized. Hopefully you have liked it, learn from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.